Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reality Hacker for July 19th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 29. And I'm MayorWatt. I run ohmTown.com. And along with the Sentient AI, usually here, and lately as of, maybe, I don't know for how long. Anyway, we're going to talk about 5 articles. An AI refugee avatar, lighthouses for aliens, training for robotic hands, quantum simulator, and virtual forest to calm your brain. And boy, do I need that. Anyway, this will be posted over to YouTube. It won't be streamed over to Twitch in real time. And for the foreseeable future, RealityHacker Wanted and the Continuity Report as well, and those are the Sunday edition of shows, or the Saturday edition of shows. The Sunday edition of shows is WarCrafters, TechnologyToday, and FourWheelTech. Those, all 6 of those, will be posted over to YouTube on the weekends from now on, and at least for the foreseeable future. And they each set of 3 becomes a composite for Non Sequitur News Saturday and Non Sequitur News Sunday edition. That's how it's going to play out. They all get posted over to YouTube or to the podcast as individual podcasts still, but we won't be able to stream on the weekends themselves. They will be played over on Twitch on the weekends along with YouTube, and I will be streaming every day, Monday through Friday. And then when I'm not actually streaming live, I'm going to be restreaming the last 2 weeks of shows. So you'll always have some content, some new content every single day. So I hope you like the new format. Unfortunately, I am not able to do this full time yet. I would like to. That would be great. But a mayor's job is just never done until, well, I guess he's displaced by another candidate. I don't know what to say. Anyway, let's get into it. All right. So this is ohmTown. That is Reality Hacker, and this is our first article. A United Nations Research Institute created an AI refugee avatar. Yeah, I'm not sure why, but a research institute connected with the United Nations has created 2 AI-powered avatars designed to teach people about refugee issues instead of actually, I don't know, using somebody that's a subject matter expert in it. But I guess you can use proxies now, and that's okay. But how do you change the dynamic? I don't get it. 404 Media wrote about an experiment conducted by a class at the United Nations University Center for Policy Research and resulted in the creation of 2 AI agents. So the article is over at TechCrunch.com. Anthony Ha put the article together. These 2, Amina and Abdallah, on the experiment's website, received an error message when the Anthony Ha tried to go over there. When the author of this article went over there, and when they tried to register on Saturday afternoon, apparently. Eduardo Albrecht, a Columbia professor and senior fellow at the UNU CPR, told 404 Media that he and his students were just playing around with the concept and not proposing this as a solution for the UN. But a paper summarizing this work suggested that these avatars could eventually be used to quickly make a case to donors. However, it also noted that many workshop attendees who interacted with the agents responded negatively. Yeah. Saying that refugees are very capable of speaking for themselves in real life. Yeah, no shit. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Earth's airports are basically lighthouses for aliens. Yeah, new research out of Manchester, led by astrophysics PhD candidate Romero Cass, I guess, or Case Sade, maybe S-A-I-D-E, Sade or Sadie. I'm not sure how they pronounce their last name. Shows that the electromagnetic noise from global airline and military radar is leaking into space, and aliens up to 200 light years away could hear it. But we've been pumping out noise for 100 years. Louis Prado over at Vice.com put this article together. And their patterns are so specific and regular that they'd appear clearly artificial to any extraterrestrial with a decent telescope and a physics degree, is what the author says. Again, Louis Prada. And the researchers are talking about this. But it says, we don't see anybody floating around out there that we can contact directly. But in 1977, we launched 2 gold-plated phonograph records into space containing all sorts of information about life on Earth. A few years before that, Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, which you might remember from the final set piece of the James Bond movie GoldenEye, or from Contact, the movie Contact, was used to blast some binary code into space containing some similarly basic information about the building blocks of life on Earth. But I don't know if that could trace back. Maybe the angle of attack would be able, somebody would be able to blue shift, I guess, our location. I don't know. But those were very intentional messages, deliberately laced with basic facts of human life on Earth to give potential visitors a crash course in the fundamentals of who we are. Great. But it says that here that we've been sending out a lot more information than we once thought. And because of that, people are, well, some of these researchers are considering being a little bit more paranoid about, what are we doing? Why are we sending out this information? But there's no way to really stop it. We're broadcasting radio waves, etc. Well, electromagnetic noise out into space. So, and they'd have to be pretty sensitive. I don't think anybody 200 light years away is going to be picking up FCC chatter at an airport. Anyway, the next article is over in Technology Today. New simulation system generates thousands of training examples for robotic hands and arms. When ChatGPT or Gemini give what seems to be an expert response to your burning questions, you may not realize how much information it relies on to give that reply. Like other popular generative artificial intelligence or AI models, not artificial general intelligence, AI versus AGI. These chatbots rely on a backbone system called foundation models that train on billions and even trillions of data points. This article is over at techexplore.com. Alex Ships from Massachusetts Institute of Technology put the article together, but it's edited by Lisa Locke and Andrew Zenin. A simulation-driven approach called PhysicsGen from MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, CSAIL, and the Robotics and AI Institute customizes robots' training data to help robots find the most efficient movements for a task. The system can multiply a few dozen VR demonstrations into nearly 3,000 simulations per machine. These high-quality instructions are then mapped to the precise configurations of mechanical companions like robotic arms and hands. So this is the one thing. Okay, so back when I first started talking about this stuff, I said one of the major limitations for robotics is that they have to be purpose-built until they learn fine motor skills. When they learn fine motor skills, then they can pick something up because they've learned it once how to, and or they can adapt extremely quickly, and they can do it a lot faster than humans can, you might think, but no, that's not true. There's so many little beeps and whistles here with your hands that they're not just linear like a robot, right? They move left and right, and they're very subtle, and they get heat and cold and pain and pleasure, sensory inputs, so you know what to do. You learn quickly not to burn your hand twice because you're not a dumbass. Well, anyway, robots don't really care about that stuff, and so they have to be programmed to do something. They don't really learn, so to speak. They have to do it thousands of times, millions of times, etc. Well, PhysicsGen creates data that generalizes to specific robots and conditions via a 3-step process. First, a VR headset tracks how humans manipulate objects like blocks using their hands. The interactions are then mapped in a 3D physics simulator at the same time, visualizing the key points of our hands as small spheres that mirror our gestures. For example, if you flipped a toy over, you'd see 3D shapes representing different parts of your hands, rotating a virtual version of that object. The pipeline then remaps those points to a 3D model of the setup of a specific machine, like a robotic arm, moving them in the precise joints where a system twists and turns. And finally, PhysicsGen uses trajectory optimization, essentially simulating the most efficient motions to complete a task, so the robot knows the best ways to do something like repositioning a box. Yeah, so they won't just keep on colliding into the microphone like I just did. I did that intentionally. Well, anyway, PhysicsGen turned just 24 human demonstrations into thousands of simulated ones, helping both digital and real-world robots reorient objects. Yang and their colleagues first tested the pipeline in a virtual experiment where a floating robotic hand needed to rotate a block into a target position. The digital robot executed the task at a rate of 81% accuracy by training on PhysicsGen's massive dataset, a 60% improvement from a baseline that only learned from human demonstrations. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about when I tell people about the evolution of technology. It happens a whole lot faster than humans learn from their mistakes. The problem is humans are very expensive in their efforts to learn. The next article is over in RealityHacker. A quantum simulator could help uncover materials for high-performance electronics. Researchers created a synthetic magnetic field using a superconducting quantum processor, which could enable them to precisely study complex phenomena in materials like phase changes, metamaterial, really. This could shed light on properties of unique materials that may be used to create faster or more powerful electronics. I agree. The article is straight out of Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It doesn't have a byline so much, just the source. But it's posted over at ScienceDaily.com. You can get access to all of that. You can actually just hit !RH in chat over on Twitch. It'll be embedded in the show notes over on YouTube when this gets posted. But by emulating a magnetic field on a superconducting quantum computer, researchers can probe complex properties of materials. So some phenomena that occur in materials can be challenging to mimic because are using quantum computers, leaving gaps in the problems that scientists have explored with quantum hardware. To fill one of these gaps, MIT researchers developed a technique to generate synthetic electromagnetic fields on superconducting quantum processors. The team demonstrated the technique on a processor comprising 16 qubits. By dynamically controlling how the 16 qubits in their processor are coupled to one another, the researchers were able to emulate how electrons move between atoms in the presence of an electromagnetic field. Moreover, the synthetic electromagnetic field is broadly adjustable, enabling scientists to explore a range of material properties. Quite fascinating. Companies like IBM and Google are striving to build large-scale digital quantum computers that hold the promise of outperforming their classical counterparts by running certain algorithms far more rapidly. And let's go on to our last article. It's over in Technology Today. It's one of our 3 shows on Sunday. And this one is this virtual forest calms your brain, no hiking required. A new study reveals that forest bathing doesn't have to happen outdoors to be effective. When recreated in virtual reality with visuals, forest sounds, natural scents, it can ease stress, improve mood, and even enhance memory. Participants who experienced a fully immersive VR forest showed stronger emotional and cognitive benefits than those who did not or had to go out to do it. Max Planck Institute for Human Development put the article together. It's posted over at SciTech Daily. The research opens the door for virtual nature therapy in places like clinics, waiting rooms, urban spaces where greenery is scarce. Those who were only exposed to one sensory input did not have the same level of emotional and cognitive benefits. So in Japan, the practice of Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, is already used for therapeutic purposes, such as reducing stress and lowering blood pressure. In this study, the researchers set out to explore whether a similar benefit could be achieved through virtual exposure to nature, whether the impact would be greater when more than one sense was stimulated at the same time. But to test this, they created high-resolution 360-degree virtual reality video filmed in the Sonnenberg Nature Reserve in Parcham, I guess, or Parkham. I'm not sure how they pronounce it. Europe's largest Douglas fir forest. The video included natural forest sounds, the scent of Douglas fir essential oils. Participants experienced the simulation either as a full multisensory session with visuals, audio, and scent, or simplified versions that focused on just one sense, visual, auditory, or olfactory. For the audio-only and scent-only experiences, a neutral virtual setting was used to avoid distractions from visual elements and to control for the effects of VR itself. More than 130 participants were first put into acute stress situation using stress-inducing images. Must have saw my paycheck. Anyway, quick takeaways. Forest bathing in virtual reality improves emotional well-being and increases connectedness to nature, particularly when several senses, sight, hearing, and smell, are simultaneously engaged. The study used a 360-degree VR forest video, complete with original sounds and the scent of Douglas fir essential oils. Not in VR, though. The forest oils were probably spritzed in the room. There is potential for application, especially in clinical, urban, and other environments with limited access to nature. I agree. All right, but that's it. That is the last article for today's Reality Hacker. In the meantime, I want you to go over to RealityHacker over at ohmTown.com. Haven't been able to get to the point where I can just have you type in Reality Hacker and you go to it. But anyway, you probably could. I wonder. Let me see if I can still, if that's actually set up still. Hold on. It is. So you can actually just type in realityhacker.com and it'll take you to ohmTown.com's sub channel. Or really what these are is ohmTown is the community. Each one of these are streets and these are side streets down. And whenever we do a show, I say look left and look right, and those are the articles that we are seeing as we walk down Main Street. I don't know. It's a little bit of canon. At any rate, that is it for today's Reality Hacker. We'll see you on Monday, the 21st, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Bye-bye.